Good morning. So, it's Leo Dominguez. So, I just want to thank Mr. Kevin Dowling. He's from Habitat for Humanity, and he's going to present to us, how they work. And I think a lot of us will be interested in what he's got to say. Kevin is a local guy. He was born he lives in Hayward, and he got his BS from Santa Clara University and political science and economics. And he is the individual giving officer for Habitat for Humanity East Bay, Silicon Valley. And he also worked previously in the UC Hastings College of the Law and the St. Leander Boys and Girls Club. Kevin also has kind of a good experience in local government. He was served the Hayward City Council for 12 years. So I know that, I'm sure it helps him a lot in this, his endeavors that he has with Habitat for Humanity. So please welcome Kevin Dowling. Okay, Kevin.
And just as a reminder, guys, send your questions to Kevin via the chat room, and we'll monitor those. Steve Stram will monitor those, and we'll answer them at the end of his talk. Okay.
Thanks, Leo, and thanks to all the members.
Thank you.
I will share my screen. So California is the second lowest home ownership rates in the country. About 80% of Californians cannot afford a median priced home. We need about 9,000 low income units each year in California, and we're not producing anywhere near that number. So what is affordable housing? A lot of affordable housing is focused on either the homeless, through shelters, a new product called navigation centers. Hayward just opened one. It's really just a larger, more intensive service model. San Francisco has a number of them. And then we did something in San Jose with the city of San Jose called tiny homes. They're individual homes for a couple or one person. A lot of problems with the shelters are people get into disputes between each other. It's hard to sleep in a dormitory type setting, especially with COVID. It was a great thing to have individual tiny homes for people. Oakland's trying just going to Home Depot and renovating tough sheds. That's not working out too well. Our tiny homes are built up from the scratch and have air and heat and are better received. Much of the affordable housing market is really focused on rental housing, some of them targeted towards seniors or veterans. But we are a little different. I'll talk about that in a minute. Habitat International, as we call it, is the national organization that was founded in Americus, Georgia in 1976. There are about 1,300 affiliates throughout the country. So we are our own separate nonprofit. We have to be affiliated every year with the international group. We are an affiliate of distinction. About 20 throughout the country have been named such. The picture you see on the screen is from Honduras. Habitat International works in about 70 countries. And we do have folks that go to El Salvador. They did not go last year during COVID, but we've been going to El Salvador pretty regularly. We've also gone to Nepal. We've gone to an African country. So we have trips. We take 10, 20 of our donors and have a week in a foreign country and building there. And it's much more labor intensive in a foreign country than it would be if you volunteered here. Jimmy and Rosalind Carter are our celebrity volunteers. They were here about 8 years ago in Oakland and San Jose. On the far right, you see Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, country singers. They've been involved with what we call the Carter Work Project for about 10 years now. And the thought was when the Carters can no longer do it, they're 95 and they've been out. Jimmy Carter fell in Canada about a year ago, hurt his eye, but he was back out the next day, and we just had him sitting down working. So they're quite something. We think Garth Brooks will take over the project once the Carters cannot come out anymore. So we are home ownership affordable housing, unlike most of the affordable housing. So our folks get a mortgage. They are a 30-year mortgage. Many folks come to us and don't have good credit. So you have to have good credit. You have to get a mortgage through a bank. We have a bank that people can work with where they can go out and get their own mortgage. They also have to provide 200 hours of what we call sweat equity. So mostly on the project, they are building their neighbor's home, their neighbors are building their homes. I love the model because when people move into their home, they've already worked with their neighbors. They know their neighbors because they've worked the project with them. So I think it's a great model that really provides some good stability and strength for generations. We just had our first homeowner pay off their mortgage, 30 years. And if people can no longer afford the mortgage or they move out of town, they have to sell the home back to us. And then we split the equity between the two of them, but we keep the home affordable. We had a great story recently in your area. We had a homeowner in Pleasant Hill and then one in Antioch. And they met through another committee that they were working on for us, and they got married. So they gave back one of their homes and they moved into one of the homes, and we were able to resell the home to another family. We also do home repairs. I'll talk about that a little more. So we've been doing that program about 4 or 5 years now. We have a big program in Alameda County.
Gonna take over.
I'm sorry. Oh. And then we also do housing counseling. So a lot of people come to us without good credit. And then we work with them on getting their credit repaired so they can get a Habitat home. Some people go through our credit program, but then decide not to apply. That's fine too. If you know of somebody who doesn't have good credit, we have HUD certified counselors who can work with them and get their credit repaired. We also work with a lot of national names you would know. Home Depot, Lowe's are very generous. Lowe's sponsors a nationwide program for Habitat called Women Build, where women executives come out and build on our sites a week a year. We also work with Whirlpool and a lot of other national companies who give us reduced or free appliances. We get a lot from local builders. We're currently working on the project I'll talk about in a minute in Walnut Creek, and we got a bunch of drywall. So we got free drywall, and we are currently working on putting that together for the projects. We also work with a lot of local companies. So our staff, our volunteers, our homeowners are on our sites, but we're also working with local companies because we want to make sure that the electrical, the sewer work, the driveways, the concrete, that's all done by professionals. So it's not done by volunteers. The volunteers are working on framing, painting, fencing, landscaping, things that can be done that's not technical in nature, because we have to get, everything we do is permitted by a city or a county. So it's not done by volunteers. So our current project is Esperanza Place, right next to Leo, right a couple doors down from Leo. It's next to the Pleasant Hill Contra Costa Center BART station. It's a 2-acre site. It was a swim club for a long time. And then when that closed, it was sold to Contra Costa County. City of Walnut Creek gave us $3 million to buy the property from the redevelopment agency. And we worked through the process and got it approved by the Walnut Creek Planning Commission. It didn't even have to go to council, but there were a number of meetings for that. It's 42 townhomes. There'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. We currently are we've selected some 1 and 2 bedroom unit families already, and they'll start their sweat equity pretty soon. We've done some site work already. We had some delays. There's always delays with paperwork, or there was some apricot pits on the site we had to get rid of because they're toxic. That's been done, and so we're starting work soon. In the next couple of months, you'll see some work being done. So there's going to be a sport court with the project, a barbecue area, garden area, and some bike lockers. Since 2009, our projects have all been LEED certified. They'll all have solar panels. They'll have EV recharging stations. I believe this will be our first project where we hope it will be, the solar panels will provide all the power needed for the project. So it'll be net zero energy use project. We also have what we call restores. They are, we get products from individuals, but also from companies, and we resell them to the project. Building materials, furniture. Our closest location to you is in Concord at 1500 Monument Boulevard. So we get new and gently used construction home improvement materials. We're reusing tons of materials that would normally go to landfills If your group is looking for a volunteer opportunity, the resources are always looking for volunteers. Or if you have something to donate to us, you can call 1-800-SHOP-090, and that'll be routed to our local project. If it's furniture, we're going to want pictures because unfortunately, we have to take things that we think are going to sell. I had some local donors that lived in Moraga, had some bunk beds, but bunk beds people don't use bunk beds anymore, unfortunately. Every kid has to have their own bedroom, so bunk beds are just tough to sell. And then if we can't sell it, we have to give it to the landfill. So we're unfortunately a little picky on what we accept. So we also do home preservation. So these are people who live in their home, own their home, mostly seniors. We've also done a lot of work in mobile home parks because they often can't get traditional loans. We're currently working in Antioch, Concord, and Walnut Creek. An example is you have to have income below $62,000 for one person. A lot of seniors, their income will be that low, and have no more than $150,000, I think, in cash assets. Doesn't include the homes. So it's single family homes, townhomes, condos, or small apartment units. Eligible repairs include health and safety hazards, accessibility, structural repair, plumbing, electrical, HVAC systems. So these projects are really critical for folks who can't get bank loans for whatever reason, and they're trying to stay in their home. They've been in their home for many, many years and want to stay in their home. So it's a great project we're working with to make sure that people aren't forced out of their homes. You can go onto our website to see if you know of somebody who's could qualify for this program. So these are our emergency sleeping cabins down in San Jose. The mayor of San Jose wanted to do a tiny home village, 25 homes in each of the 10 council districts. Unfortunately, it wasn't rolled out well by the city of San Jose. There was a lot of opposition. We went to Gensler, which is a well-known architecture firm. They came up with this design. We thought maybe the design would help with the project, and people were still concerned about having homeless in their area. But we've done 2 villages now. We also did a lot of COVID relief. We did trailers also with the city of San Jose, mostly in the Story and 101 area. It's where our restore is. And Caltrans had some spare land, and the city of San Jose's Public Works Department had some land. So the first village we did had 40 tiny homes, and it was actually right next to the Berryessa BART station. If you ever take BART all the way down to Berryessa, you can see it from that station. Then we bring in a trailer, which will have a joint kitchen, bathroom, and offices. So these folks are moved in. We're trying to get folks off the street who are, newly homeless. The ones that have been on the streets for 10, 20, 30 years, they have serious mental health or drug issues. We're looking for folks who just lost their job or, lost their housing and are sleeping in their cars or sleeping on the side of the freeway, and we can rapidly rehouse them into an affordable apartment. So there are the 2 sites there. We also did 200 units of COVID relief in trailers with the federal government in the city of San Jose. So that's my presentation. So we're always looking for volunteers. Of course, we accept donations from individuals or work. If you want to come and volunteer as a group, we can arrange that too, at the Restore or on site at Esperanza Place when that gets going. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Kevin, this is Steve.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Couple of questions that have started to come in. One has to do with the restores. So, there are several around the Bay Area. Could you explain a little bit more about how it works from the standpoint of making donations or actual purchases?
So it's a regular retail store. It's like I would call it an upscale thrift store from like a Goodwill or something like that. A lot of the products are new, but some of them are, the furniture is usually gently used, but it's very high quality. So if you call the number that I mentioned, they'll ask you to send in pictures, and then we would come pick up the furniture. You have to have it either in the garage or on the sidewalk. Our drivers come out by themselves, so we don't want to go into the house and then we're trying to move furniture out and it doesn't make it through a door, or they break something else in the house. So that way, if the furniture is in the garage or on the sidewalk, then it's easier to pick up. And we also work with people who are trying to clear a whole house out. That actually works the best for us as opposed to picking up one item. And we'll even take some items that we probably won't be able to sell, but just if we can pick up 20 items, that's always great. So if you know of somebody who's moving out of a place, unfortunately, I had a donor in Union City who was moving from a upscale like retirement home, but she couldn't get the products down to the street, so we couldn't help. And we're trying to work on that and see if we can change that model and try to help people more. But so the restores it's a model that's used across the country. We have 3, one in Oakland near the just south of the Coliseum, and then one in San Jose. The one in the Monument Store, Boulevard Store, is a really cool store. It's a part of the former bowling alley. So we have some of the bowling alley, flooring there. So it's a really nice looking store.
So some of us are downsizing these days. So things that would maybe good, lightly used items that would normally go into a garage sale might be candidates for donation, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we're doing more. We haven't traditionally done a lot of, tchotchke type items, but some of the stores are trying to feature that more. But furniture is definitely something, we would look at. It just has to be in good condition, can't be ripped or stained or,
Sure.
so they're going to ask you to take pictures because we want to make sure that we can sell it reasonably. Of course, there's always things that, for some reason they think we'll sell them, but won't, but we don't want to have to pay to have it disposed of.
Yeah.
So.
Now, some of us are kind of organizing a volunteer group within our branch, and the volunteers would go out and participate in community projects. So do you need people to work at the restores
Yes.
or swing a hammer, or could you
Yes.
describe that? Yeah.
Yes, so the restore always needs volunteers. They would schedule you and they would say, okay, we're going to have a donation come in that day. We can use 5 or 10 volunteers and your group can come in and do that. And certainly on the site too, you would be doing, framing. Once the project gets more going, painting, landscaping. I've worked on fences around the property. If you're going to be coming out as a group of more than 10, we would ask for a donation. I believe it's $2,000 for 10 people. But the restore, I don't believe, asks for a donation. If you're just coming out as an individual, then you can just sign up through our website. But if you're going to come out as a group, then we reserve the day for you, and we ask groups to make a modest donation.
Okay. Now, we've recently heard about inflation and the price of lumber. And so what kind of challenges are you facing with the cost of materials these days?
Yeah, materials are a big cost. We get some of that donated. A lot of the big costs are the contractors that come in, to do sewer work, to pave the driveways. And as building has started to pick up again, that's really hard to get. And we're paying prices that are the for-profit developers are paying for. We also pay a lot of the fees that, the for-profit developers pay too. We just finished a 30-unit condo project in Fremont. We were expecting to pay about $100,000 in school fees, but then when we actually went to go pull the permit, it was $700,000 because they changed the formula and they weren't getting support from the state like they thought they would. We went in and tried to do some advocacy. Fortunately, it took us about 9 months, but they were able to get some state funding, and the cost went down to maybe $200,000, but that was more than we expected to pay. So we just have to find the money for that. Luckily we're getting in that project, we got the land for free from the city of Fremont.
Yeah.
That's if we pretty much need free or donated land to start, because land is just so expensive in the Bay Area.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you to expand on that. How do you find the land? Because, it's a challenge in the Bay Area to find land for affordable housing, right?
Right. Well, a lot of, cities and counties are required by the state to build affordable housing. So in their planning process, they have to identify land that they could work with affordable housing developers. In Fremont, they built a new fire station, and then they were going to build a training center next door, but they didn't do that. And so the land was available, and we bid on it, and we were able to get the land. In Contra Costa County, Leo would know more on the history of that land, but I believe it was a swim club, Leo, and then it went to the county, and then they declared it surplus, so we were able to get the land through the city of Walnut Creek. But it's often land that cities and counties have kind of designated for affordable housing. Sometimes we get donated. We got 2 houses donated to us by a company in Oakland recently, and we're rehabbing those and putting families into those. But usually we're building from scratch.
So anything within the residential zoning areas would be candidates potentially?
Potentially, yeah. Or sometimes it's rezoned. A city has land and they meant to use it. We're getting some land in Pleasant Hill for maybe a 10-unit project. I don't know the history of that land, but the city had some land that they declared they don't need permit. Sometimes there's a road project. I know there's a site in Hayward that was part of a overpass project that wasn't needed, and we're going to put about 10 homes in there. But that's been slow to get going, but it's often a remnant. There's actually a project, some land 2 blocks from my house that was supposed to be part of a road project that was never built. So
Yeah. There is a site in Pleasant Hill. I think it's down Cleveland Road. Not
that
far
sounds
from
right.
downtown
That sounds
Pleasant
right.
Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And they spell Cleveland very unusual. They have like an extra A
Yes.
in it. Yeah.
B-A-V-E.
That's a site. Yep. That's a site. Yep.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the international organization and how these projects come together and how people might even volunteer for that kind of an assignment.
So they have what they call global village trips all over the world. If you go on Habitat International, I think it's habitat.org, you can see the work we do around the globe. We're working in some countries, like we've been in Haiti for quite a while. Haiti, actually, we don't build houses because the land ownership there is so nebulous. It's hard to get land that is yours. So we're working on like getting streets. They don't even have addresses on their properties. So we're really basic projects there. But in most countries, we're building like Honduras and El Salvador, and we've built hundreds of thousands of homes throughout the world. And so Habitat, what we call international, they also work on our national partnerships with places like Whirlpool and Home Depot and Lowe's, and then that we often get product or donations through that service, but we don't get cash from Habitat International.
So if someone's interested in learning more about volunteer opportunities, do they go to your website or work through?
Yeah,
you?
local, you would go to our website, which is habitatebbsv.org, and then the national projects are habitat.org.
Okay. So what sort of requirements do you have for volunteers these days? Do they have to show like proof of vaccination or COVID and other things, or?
No, I mean, for a while we pretty much stopped volunteering for a couple months, but then we brought back who we call our regular volunteers, people who've been volunteering for us for years because they really know the projects and can get up to speed. So we haven't actually started corporate volunteering again. We have a lot of volunteers who'll come out from Cisco or Chevron or Wells Fargo and bring out 20, 30, 40 volunteers in a day. And so we haven't asked for COVID, mandatory COVID certifications. About 85% of our staff is. I just heard that figure, so which is great. I wish it would be 100, but so I'm glad to see your group is almost 100. That's very impressive.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well in that regard.
Yeah.
So what other organizations do you partner with?
We've had Rotary groups come out. We have we have actually a great group at Cal Berkeley who volunteers with us regularly. There's like 200 members of the Habitat chapter there. They also do work with our Habitat families. We have about 500 people who are in Habitat homes that we help them build. And they come out actually to the Walnut Creek Library on a regular basis and tutor kids. So that's something that the Cal Berkeley Habitat chapter does. But I've worked with Rotary clubs, other service organizations. We've had high schools that have come out to work. So there's no age limit. You don't need any experience. We'll teach you what to do. It's usually pretty simple things.
Okay. Do you focus on like temporary housing as well, or is this more permanent housing?
No, we've mostly done home ownership, except for that tiny homes project in San Jose. And there are other cities that are doing tiny homes for the homeless.
Yeah.
And we've looked at maybe continuing that project, but right now we're not doing any more at this point.
So how did you get involved? Is this a long time endeavor or recent?
For me personally,
Yes.
I've been here about 4 years. When I was on city council, doesn't pay great, so you have to have another job, and so I was mostly working in fundraising. And then in 2010, I ran for county supervisor and lost. So I've been doing full-time fundraising since then.
Okay, very interesting. So the chat room is open if there are any other questions. And then one question about how you select homeowners.
We have a family selection committee, which I'm actually on, but they're mostly volunteers. People apply. They have to have good credit. So sometimes you might be on the list for a couple of years to repair your credit. And then we go interview them. Usually we go to their homes, see what their home conditions like, what their neighborhood's like, ask them if they're willing and able to do the sweat equity. Those are the big requirements. And then we usually we're having homeowners who been living in garages, or there was a family in Fremont who had living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Berkeley, but there were 7 people living in there. So it's usually if you have, we're usually putting 2 people per bedroom. So that's the HUD requirements. So if you're, a 4-person, if you have like a mother, father, and then 2 kids, if they're the same sex, it would be 2 bedrooms. If they're different sex, it'd be 3 bedrooms. So then we just rank the homeowners based on, a lot of times it's people who are in tough living conditions, or they have a landlord that's not repairing their place, and they're they have a lot of mold, or they have a lot of other issues with the house, plumbing problems. So those are the folks that usually are getting homes.
What was the impact of the pandemic, as people may have lost jobs or, lost housing or something like that, and then had to quickly find something else?
Well, for the affiliate, we pretty much maybe stopped for a month or 2, but because we were considered an essential business, we were able to keep building. So it was mostly our staff, and then maybe 4 or 5 months in, we started bringing regular volunteers back. But it really slowed down, how much we could build, because usually we have a lot of corporate volunteers coming in, or just individuals in the community coming out. So that was really slowed down quite a bit. We were lucky to get 2 PPP loans. We were, I think, a very well-run nonprofit. So we have the highest, rating in Charity Navigator, and we've been around a long time. So we're able to continue. We didn't lay off any staff. People continued to work. I continue to work with donors on donations and updating them about the projects. So the projects continue. We did a lot with tiny homes and the COVID relief down there. Some of our staff who had worked with corporate volunteers went to work on site. So that was a change for them. But so I've been working from home since last March, and we've not fully reopened our office.
Okay. Do you have any special events coming up between now and the end of the year that you might know about?
We have an event in Palo Alto. It's called Cycle of Hope. We have this tremendous volunteer who lives in Orinda. He used to be a Bank of America vice president. He's in his 70s, but he's ridden across the country for us several times. He's amazing. And so we started this local cycling event to honor him. And we've had the event now 3 years. Last year we did it virtually. We actually raised more money in the virtual event than we did on the real event
Okay.
because, we didn't have to hire an event company to plan out all the routes and everything. And people just, cycled at home and now we're opening up the event a little bit this year. You can do you could run, you could walk, you don't have to cycle. You can, cycle on your own time, cycle it on a treadmill or a stationary bike. And that event is October 24th. You can find more information on it.
Okay. And then, so Jimmy and Rosalind Carter have been great representatives. I mean, they've done so much to just make more people aware of Habitat for Humanity. So how about Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood? How did they get involved? And can you say a little bit more about their involvement?
They come out to the Carter, what we call the Carter Work Week. It moves around the country. It was actually in Canada 2 years ago, and they come out for a week and they build with the Carters. So it's an event that we bring high giving donors to encourage them to give more and to meet the Carters and meet Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood. And then the local affiliate is also having special events too. So it's quite a special event for folks who are at a certain donor level. When we were here, it was quite I wasn't at the affiliate before. I've heard it was a lot of great events we had around that week. So we look forward to working with them in the future.
Well, Kevin, we really appreciate you coming out and talking with us, and look forward to visiting the restores and hearing more about Habitat for Humanity.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Steve and Leo.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Just a reminder, our next meeting, guys, August 9th. Hope to see you there.
Thank
But
you.
thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.